Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
You find yourself in a tavern.
Oh, we should have checked for traps.
I knew he forgot something.
I think I can reason with him.
You killed his father.
Can I have sex with it?
You could certainly try.
I'm gonna touch a sword.
Don't touch the sword!
The child is evil, right?
Obviously.
I could cast Fireball.
Always cast Fireball.
All right, roll for it. Welcome to Friday Night Quests. I'm your host and Dungeon Master, Jay Jones. We're back with our bonus Aftermath episode for Season 5. First, we'll sit down with our cast, including Seychelle Gabriel, and talk about her first time playing D&D and our players' favorite board games. Then, Mike will interview myself, our producers, Andrew and Nic, and Kelly Egan, who plays Izzy, and we'll discuss the inspiration for this month's adventure and how it came together. So without further ado, let's get to it. Seychelle, thanks for coming and playing with us.
Thanks.
What were you expecting before the game, might I ask?
I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. Like, I really
Have you ever played D&D before?
No, I've never played it. I've never known anyone who played it. For some reason, I didn't know it was a role-playing game. I thought it was, like, more of a board game situation. And I told my friend, they're like, oh, do you know who you're going to be? And I was like, what does that mean?
You gotta know.
Because I didn't.
Okay. Yeah. What'd you think of the warlock that you played?
I liked her. I mean, I picked, since I had so many options for characters, like traits, I just picked the things that I kind of, I guess, want in myself.
Okay.
Or I would enjoy pretending that I was, which I don't know that I did that much justice, but it was fun to pretend that I did. I've always liked, I always bring this fucking episode up, but like in the first Airbender series, there's like the library that they go to that's underground.
Right, yeah.
And that always just like blew my mind. And I've always liked ancient stuff like that, and I'm really into like old music and going and listening to old recordings that people made, you know, I don't know, in the 30s, you know, when they first had like portable recording systems and stuff. So I don't know, like I like the idea of her being a researcher. Like, you know, I admire like folklorists and stuff. So that was fun.
All right, well, that's great. I wish I could also visit a deep library guarded by a giant owl, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
right.
that's right.
Yeah, like, giant magic godlike owl or something.
And when he said the great ones, I thought of the owl, and I was just like...
That is a much nicer being than what I imagined.
Yeah, I know, of course.
When I think of Great Old One, I do think of Cthulhu, giant octopus monster.
We don't know. They're unknowable. Like,
It could be a giant owl living in a library. That sounds like a much nicer creature.
That's
maybe.
what's so cool
That's what
about
I choose
it is
to
you
believe.
don't know.
Yeah.
Cthulhu is a giant owl.
Well, we're not really meant to be able to comprehend Cthulhu.
True. He could just be a
premise.
giant owl. Maybe he pretends to be an octopus. He puts on a show, you know, because people expect it. He's just, he should be himself.
Not all the great old ones are tentacles.
Be yourself.
Be yourself.
Sometimes they can be
Cthulhu.
owls. You don't know.
They might have
Stop thinking about what other
feathers,
people
tentacles.
think of you. Feathers, tentacles, it's all the same thing.
People
Just be
think I have
yourself.
tentacles on my face, so I do it. But I don't like it.
So we're
So weird. Such a weird.
That's what it sounds like. Exactly how
So,
Wasn't that your voice for Cord?
No, I don't know. Oh, right. No.
jeez.
No, it was worse. I don't remember.
Might have been.
Was
Anyway.
it?
So
Okay.
we're getting close to Bahamutmas, and you had mentioned playing board games and stuff. So what's a game? You know, people play games during the holidays, and you thought this was going to be a game as well.
Well,
what's
more of a board game.
More of a board game, I mean. So what's a game, board game, or group game that you guys each like to play with, whether your family or friends? What's one that pops into your minds?
Charades.
Why do you like charades so much?
Oh, I mean, it ends up being the game that you play.
Is that the family game that you play?
Yeah, that ends up being like a family game. Yeah, it's easy. Like, if you end up pulling out a lot of pieces in a giant board, most people are like, what the fuck are you doing? Get those away from
What
me.
is happening right now?
Yeah,
There's
get
so
those away
much to
from
think
me.
about.
But no, so it's easy to get a bunch of drunk people to like...
To play charades.
Yeah, to go two
That's a good
syllables. So, yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
Is it lost? Is it lost?
Every time it's lost when you...
CSI.
stand up.
CSI would be tough. There's like 15 of
Yeah.
them. It's like, it was CSI New York. You needed to
Well, I
check
think
my
you can
left
go
hand.
three letters, and people would be like, well, what show is 3 letters?
SVU.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I was about to say NCIS, but that's 4.
That's
Whoops.
true.
I just needed to think that through. Didn't even need to share that with everyone.
You did.
But I did. What about you, Kelly?
So I grew up in a very board game heavy household. My dad is a fierce competitive board game player, I guess. So I grew up when I was a little kid playing like Stratego and Risk.
Cool.
But nowadays we're really into Ticket to Ride, Catan, and
Ooh.
Gun! Exclamation point.
Oh.
Gun is a card game, Wild
that
West
one.
card game
Is that-
building.
you mean Bang?
Do you mean Bang?
or is it Bane?
It might be Bang. It's the one where you're like someone's a sheriff and
Yeah. Ours is Gun, and it's in an Italian.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's like the
original, yeah.
Yeah. So we played that. It's really fun, but we love Catan and Complications. I tried bringing a game last Christmas that's a cooperative game. So I brought Eldritch Horror, which is cooperative. You all got to work together. It's creepy.
it's a game about a giant owl that's
Right.
trying to invade Earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my parents, my family, we hate cooperative games.
Oh, really?
Like they just love beating and tearing other people down. It's really
So when you
sad.
guys had to work together, it was just like,
They were like, no, I don't get it. What?
I need to destroy you.
Yeah. They're like, no.
That's
Also,
so
the
fun.
creepy, the horror genre of gaming, like they didn't.
Yeah.
They
They
didn't
weren't-
like.
they weren't getting behind.
Yeah, but
I just want to build towns
Yeah.
and roads.
it's mostly Catan.
And destroy my family.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Mike, what about yours?
My family sounds similar to Kelly's because we also had a lot of games, and Settlers was it for a while, and then Ticket to Ride. I think we're moving into the King of Tokyo phase because King of Tokyo is one
Everyone
that,
has those phases.
Yeah, where like my mom just like really wants to play Robo Bunny or Cyber Bunny and just loves that character. It's like again, there's no real difference, but it's just
Who
you're
doesn't want to be a giant robot bunny?
a giant
and
Robo Bunny
punch monsters?
piloted by an actual bunny.
An actual bunny.
Yeah, Cyber Bunny's awesome. And then among friends, it's sometimes like Betrayal at House on the Hill. Actually, really, it's D&D among friends because I am running 3 different groups,
Separately.
separate groups. Yeah,
It's a lot to keep together.
It's a lot going on.
I'm playing in one of those groups.
You are.
so yeah.
Most of the Partial Arc people are.
Yeah. And Seychelle, what about yourself?
We always played Life. You know, the classic.
We all play Life, I think, every day.
Yeah, no, that one's funny with like a little cousin. I was always the oldest one, and so when everyone like has a kid, you're like, "What are you gonna name your kid?" And they're like, "Poop." And so,
All right. So the big question, did you go to college in life? Because that's always a big decision, isn't it? You can like just
college
skip it.
or work.
College or
right.
work. Were you a work
'Cause you
or
get-
college?
I mean, I did college because you get a better career that way
You
and
do.
make more money in the long run, even though you want a salary right off the bat.
Hear that, listeners?
Yeah.
Any
Go
of
to
our young
college.
listeners, go to college.
Stay in
But go ahead
school.
and name your kids poop if you want.
yeah, if you want to, please.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Well, that's a toughie subject.
Real hot topics here on
yeah.
Friday Night Quest.
Interesting point. No one said they liked Monopoly. Does
No one
anyone
did.
like
I
Monopoly?
don't think anyone
never.
does.
My brother and my mom loved Monopoly,
Yeah.
but I never had the patience. for
My
it.
sister was always much better at Monopoly, which is really an indicator of how we live our lives as well. But she was much, much better at that. And then we'd always have to break for dinner because the game is like 18 hours long.
Yeah.
And then
you need to take emotional breaks so that
Exactly.
you don't
Yeah.
kill other
Seriously.
family members.
I would only play because my mom would be like, "No, play with your sister, play the game." And then after dinner, she'd like rush back to the table and be like, "So should we keep playing?" I was like, "Let's just say you won. Let's just assume that you're going to win."
You crushed all my financial real estate
Yeah.
hopes and dreams.
It's the only time she would ever finish dinner faster than I would because she's tends to be a slower eater. But she was like, "All right, time to eat, time to play the game." I was like, "No, thank you.
Time to cripple you emotionally.
No, it's all right. One good turn deserves another." I did push her a lot when she was learning to sit up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
That
that's
is-
payback then.
Which I
and
like
you
to
deserve
think,
every bit of it.
Hey,
Mike.
I'd like to think I strengthened her.
Wow.
I've inspired her to be resilient in life.
Hey.
It's her birthday today when we're recording this, actually.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, my sister.
Happy birthday, my sister.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm sitting here with the producers, Jay Jones,
Hey.
the guy who just ran the game, Niels-Christian,
Hello.
Andrew Dickinger,
Hello.
and special guest in the aftermath, this part of the aftermath episode, Kelly Egan.
I'm here.
She's here.
I'm here.
And she's here for a very special reason because this was a Kelly-themed, or an Izzy-themed episode.
Yes, it was.
Kelly
So-
was also mentioned, but she was that extra character nobody found in the back of the cabin.
No one
Yeah.
cared about Kelly. It was all about Izzy.
Yeah. Yeah, this was Izzy's shining season. It was so much fun to play.
Her spotlight season, essentially. So how did it start? I guess first from the premise of doing a Izzy themed season and the structure of it.
Izzy's kind of an interesting character because she is young compared to her comrades in the Velvet League and everything. So I kind of just
10 years younger than them.
She is, and even though she is a half elf and they're going to age a little bit, they're going to be around a lot longer and they age a little differently. She's still very young to be out and about with such an older group of guys. So I kind of just brainstormed that idea of we've been through a lot, we've seen a lot, encountered a great deal, and then maybe why and how is she developing right now, like is she, with what they've been through and what they've found or haven't found, why would she still stay with these guys? Because the couple seasons before she was really stagnant. Izzy kind of came out of because she's a druid half elf, she comes out of the gate really powerful, strong, and there, but she got stuck in a rut, and I think that was her whole I gotta do some soul searching, who am I, what are these the right people I should be surrounding myself with, is this worth it, and asking those questions in this season.
And that actually came about because of some real world conversations about how Izzy, and actually Jay and I had this conversation around the same time you and Jay had this conversation.
Yeah. And I mean, it was very much just like we've been trying to address in other adventures. Like we've talked about in other aftermaths, like how to change up how to do an adventure, how to start a different inciting incident. We also talked about why are adventurers together? They're just always hanging out. They're not family. They're not usually always making tons of money. They're always encountering death.
We're not really sellswords. That's the interesting thing.
You're not mercenaries. You're just kind of traveling around. And we know Horace's motivation is, he's trying to build up an empire. He's trying to build up a new kingdom for himself. So he's recruiting people. That makes sense. Sweeney's on the run for reasons unknown.
On the run, you're throwing that around. Sweeney's comfortable among people who have swords. Just prefers their company.
Vague answer. And Izzy, that was the other question. It was just Izzy's, excited about the world and out traveling, but why is she still with this group? And we wanted to help answer that and also answer the question of why are we in completely different locations every single adventure?
Yeah.
So this gave us an opportunity to do that and really gave us a way to make that flow in naturally with the progression of these characters. Izzy has been taking them on this because it is a journey she's wanted to take because of her family, because of her soul searching, and it's been able to culminate in this specific adventure.
It was good timing too, because essentially with the amount of adventures that have happened thus far, we've gotten a good feel for who the characters are, because there's, even though you start you develop your characters before you even record season 1, you don't really know who it is until you've done it enough times.
No, sure.
Because now that we know who it is, we can really start to dive into their backgrounds and get an idea of who they really are, what they really want.
Yeah, when I came up with Izzy, I actually had her backstory. I have actually her parents' story as well mapped out on how they met.
Which we might get into eventually.
And their names, which I've never revealed.
Yeah, we've never named them.
And I've done that on purpose. I've never, because her father is a very creepy, intense man. I guess intense would be the word.
Makes sense. He's from an underground culture that's all about murder. So,
but she has a very different relationship. But she understands how, from the outside, he can appear. But he's a big teddy bear, really.
And we also canonically stated that all drow have valley curl accents.
Oh yeah.
I think when Horace did this flashback, he was a tiny bit southern still.
Yeah,
because he was still doing a little bit of the chord voice.
Well, see, that's what happens when you leave drow culture. That accent turns into southern.
I was going to say that's what happens when you leave impressions in the hands of Jeremy.
Yeah, basically. You get real weird chord impressions like a previous adventure.
Talk about poop a lot.
Yeah, check out season 4, guys, because if you haven't listened to it, it's a riot.
It's super weird.
It's out there.
But basically, it came about because I think we were having a lot of these behind the scenes conversations, and then realized they should actually be in character conversations, things we should address on the show.
Because I think we talked about it. It was just man, I wonder if why is this happening? And I wish we could figure this out. It's let's just make that an episode. Let's just do that.
And then as far as the actual pitch for the story and sort of the setting and all that, where did that come from?
Well, Niels can tell you that one.
Yeah, well, we wanted like, a situation that was kind of more like a bottle episode, to have the characters kind of it's more just about them and their interactions and
Isolated.
isolate them. So I was like, the first idea was like, well, I love Cabin in the Woods, and I kind of want them to just be stuck in a cabin in the woods and monsters attack them inside the cabin, and they have to like fortify it.
And
protect.
nothing brings out like stress and emotional conversations than being under siege, basically.
And doing a bottle episode, basically.
Yeah, you're forced to stay in a small area with a bunch of people that you might have just gotten into a fight with, maybe you don't like right now, and that can really force out those fun and emotional conversations.
Well, and it's fun because you can develop that idea since like instantly you're setting them in this bottle. And then you're like, well, we needed to be a little bigger than that. So, like, we made it more of a resort thing. But then it's like, well, now that we've made it a horror episode and they're isolated in this thing, we might as well just throw in all the tropes. How do they get isolated there? Well, there's fog. You can't get through it. It just takes you back. Okay, I mean, it is D&D. You might as well just accept it.
It's a lot of stages, and I was thinking about that afterwards. It's really cleverly done, actually. I really have to hand it to you guys, because it starts with the boatman is leaving.
We paid him to say that.
You weren't supposed to say that.
Damn it, I forgot that was the other part of that deal.
The boatman left, and he wasn't going to be back until the night. So we knew we were stuck there for a little while. And then by the time he got back, he's like, oh, I can't leave because of all the fog. And you're like, all right, well, that's...
That was a spot-on impression.
I've already forgotten his voice.
It's funny because that's a thing that we were actually discussing for a while. Is like that was where we were stuck. Is like, how do we keep them from just trying to leave? And it was like, oh, well, you just get rid of the boatman and then have him come back and be the panicked one that's saying, oh, the fog, can't get out. Because then as soon as like that happens, it disarms the player not only towards that character, but then
we'll come back to that.
But we'll come back to that. But then also makes it so that they automatically accept that, oh shit, well, he was our ride. Like, how the hell does anybody know how to fly? Like, I mean, that's it.
Because that's the problem with horror in general, modern horror specifically, which is why, fortunately, we don't play this in a world where there's cell phones.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep finding ways to take away resources to help at all.
You best believe that fog would block cell phone reception.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi is terrible there.
It was the mist.
It's amazing though with D&D world, like, and just horror in general, how much of it would just be solved if people could fly. It's like, man, it's too bad we're isolated in this place. Woo!
Yeah, fortunately, none of us could cast fly yet. That's a lower level spell, or that's a higher level spell.
She's almost there.
Technically, Izzy could have just been like, I'm a bird, bye.
She can turn into an owl, but she cannot fly.
You best believe that fog would have extended towards the sky.
Because of we should actually explain what Kelly's talking about. Because of the rules of how druids are built, you don't get a fly speed until level 7?
That makes sense.
I think.
You know what? I think it might be
8 or 9.
8 or 9, yeah.
You turn into a sitting owl.
Yeah,
I am.
You can become those creatures. That's fine. You just can't fly.
You're like a chicken. You can hop and like hover real good.
Yeah.
You need to do a skill check that involves turning your head almost completely around. That's when you bust out that owl form.
Yeah. I've never turned into an owl yet. I've
maybe
turned
like
into a frog.
Maybe it's like a baby owl.
It is a little. Well, I have. Readers don't get to see this, but my wild shape 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper has drawings.
We need to put that on the.
I think those are online.
We need
are they?
We need to take new
They're
pictures
adorable.
though.
My little owl. It is a little owl.
Those drawings have evolved.
Your owl has enormous eyes though.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you can't fly because your eyes are so big. You're just like top heavy.
Her wild shapes have evolved. I could already tell you, like, if at the end of this season, the next time we see Izzy, she's gonna look very different.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's got.
Am I gonna have to redraw the character art?
Yeah, I'm actually working on it right now.
Okay.
Oh wow! Exciting news for all of us.
She's also aged. We met her when she was 17, and she's
20, I think, is what we decided.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. Actually, have we ever addressed that on an aftermath?
Yeah, no, we
episode?
have. We have.
Not
We
in
talked about-
aftermath. Not in aftermath.
But we've addressed it on the show.
We've addressed in the show, like, oh, by the way, I have a brother, yeah, and then moved on real quick. But yeah, no, we have.
Yeah, I think we talked
called it
like
out.
off air maybe that like every season is like 30, like almost not 30. This isn't an hour.
30 years.
30 years have passed. No, like a half a year passes between
Something
each adventure. Yeah.
Which is, we should say, completely arbitrary, but it just seems like we're doing a lot of globetrotting. It makes sense that it takes a while to get wherever we're going.
And why not? You know, the whole point of like each adventure, we're trying to do something new. And, you know, especially with, you know, as we go on in upcoming adventures, we're not going to, you know, right now it's different location problem. We'll probably have different motivations and things later on than just like, we're here, something terrible just happened. What do we do?
Well, we've teased that with the next season. Maybe the situation's going to be a little different.
Possibly.
But we'll get to that. This adventure came together a little faster than they usually do. And I should actually explain how we kind of do it. We reach out to a lot of guests and we say, here's the dates that we have available. And we had a date available that I didn't think anyone would take because it was like 6 days away. And I was like, well, I should include it because it's my last chance to record before I'm out of town for 2 weeks. So like, we should put it on there, but no one's really going to take it. And then Seychelle responded and said, yeah, I would, I'd be willing to do it, and I'm willing to do it on Sunday. And we're like, great, that's awesome. I have to talk to you about your character, and Jay, you have some writing to do.
I just love that because I found out late, and I just love that Jay sends me just a text. It's like, hey, we have to write a campaign in 5 days. And it's just like,
let's do this. All right, ideas.
Oh, Andrew, you did not find out late. You found out in real time.
I guess
it was like that moment later.
By relative perspective, I just heard from Mike, we have to write a campaign for Sunday. Well, shit. Okay.
But it was really fun, actually, and like it's one of my favorite adventures it's probably my favorite one we've done so far.
I would agree too. I think it was so much fun.
And because of that, I think you guys divided up the labor a little more.
We did, yeah. We were just attacking at it constantly. We were just like, okay, this is our problem. They're there, but we don't know why to keep them there. Who's got ideas to keep them there? It was like,
Well, it did evolve actually very naturally. Comparatively, like we did have, I will say in the previous season, we did have some trouble with the carnival with regards to like the reasons why they're still there, whereas like there's like because there wasn't as much of an obvious goal, whereas in this it's like there's a very specific reason why Izzy is there, and everybody else is kind of just like whatever.
Yeah,
and then
which was another fun part of the design is when we were talking about it, we were like, hey, what if not just Izzy really wants to be there, but no one else does.
Yeah.
And we let Seychelle sort of decide for herself, like, you are coming here separate from us, so like you have reasons to want to be here. But for the Velvet League, because we knew we were gonna try to have this conflict essentially with Izzy over this flower, like we were like, yeah, let's not want to be here at all.
Yeah, I guess that is interesting. It was like we had kind of the makeup right away of what we wanted to do. I think the difficulty really came into the pacing. Like, it was like, when do things start to escalate, and how do they escalate, and why wouldn't they leave? Then when does the next piece happen? It's like writing a horror movie. You have the first kill, and they're like, what's happening? Should we leave? No, of course not, because I don't have a good reason.
Well, and this is something we sort of talked a little bit in the last Aftermath. I mean, with regards to the amount of encounters, it's like, if you just consider an encounter as a battle point.
Sure.
Then like there's the two very obvious encounters, but we sort of consider like every sudden group interaction. There's this in your face. How do you react to it? That's an encounter because it's building character and story.
Yeah.
I mean the stuff even with the thing exploding out of that woman's chest.
Let's go ahead and discuss that now.
It doesn't yet.
Crazy.
Slods.
Oh man, I love those things
Slods.
so much.
But you hate us. Because you wanted to kill us with slods, Jay.
Hey, was there a death slot in there? No.
Yeah, that could have been. There almost was. That encounter was almost way worse than it was.
Yeah, I think we talked about it, and it changed right before we rolled initiative.
Yeah, because it would have been real bad. Well, also just because, like, every time we throw in an encounter that we're like, this is going to be fun, but I don't think it's going to be too crazy. Also, because we had to roll this up super quick, we've said in previous Aftermaths that we test encounters just to make sure you guys don't die. Didn't test this one, so just kind of relied on math for math's sake. The Minotaur skeletons were a lot worse than we thought they were going to be, and they were a lot less, according to the monster manual, experience counter for how deadly something can be.
Yeah.
They were a lot less than what the slad encounter was going to be. So I was like, in the moment, I was like, oh no, this will be really bad. We can't have this much slad going on.
During the Minotaur fight?
Yeah, I was like, ooh.
Well, as well, unfortunately, a lot of it comes down to the fact that it's a dice game.
Yep.
I was rolling real well.
And if the dice go well for the DM and not for the players, there's not a whole lot you can do about that.
Also, I think that's the first adventure we saw Jeremy I'm sorry if we're getting off topic of your questions, but that was the first time I think we ever saw Jeremy's character, Horace, drop so
Oh,
so
yeah.
He's usually an unkillable tank.
It's the first time we've seen him drop at all.
Yeah.
Usually it's just Sweeney. No, Jonathan's character in season 3.
Jonathan went down
dropped as well.
And Izzy's been knocked out of forms.
I've pulled Sweeney out a couple times as a bear.
But you've never been knocked unconscious. But never Horace. Horace has more hit points than any of us.
Horace also, because his AC is so high, when I'm usually attacking him with monsters, it's almost like just attacking air, because I know I'm just never going to hit, because the monsters...
like attacking a brick wall.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, is an 18 high enough? It's like, no, I'm like 21 or 22 AC. 19. It's like, jeez.
It's a 19 AC,
You're like a boss monster on crack with your AC, but I had really good rolls.
That's all it takes. All it takes is one good roll, one max damage, and then that's just like, well, I'm at half health.
He was also fighting 2 of them.
He's
so.
also drinking, or well, no, it was funny how that perfectly kind of like played into it, because he went to the bar and just got sloshed.
Yes.
Yeah, that did work out quite well.
He didn't want to be there, Kelly.
And he didn't want to be. Yeah, well,
narratively it works. Yeah.
I don't know. The hats were very enticing for him. I try to find like the way that I see Izzy looking at Horace is like half you're an idiot and like I can work you, but the other half is like, oh, actually he's really smart. He knows exactly what he's doing. I could learn a lot from this
promise
guy.
you, Sweeney does not feel that way about Horace.
Here's the thing, at least Horace is he has a direction in life, and that man goes for it 100%.
Well, let's say this. Let's say this. It's not that he was offended that it was a trip to see a flower. It was that he didn't come up with the idea, that he was upset. He's like, I don't like this flower. This is my flower, but I do like the flower and the hats.
I just hope the next season, this is my one like little wish, I just hope there's some smoochy romantic action, because I think that's something.
Between whom?
I don't know.
Just in general?
Just in general. Because I know, well, the last time it was
fan fiction. Everybody get on it.
Yeah.
Smoochy,
just everybody to start making out.
There's some shipping going
just
on.
everybody just starts
some
making
shipping,
out.
Yeah.
What's
Or
that
something.
pink smoke? Everybody just starts making out.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's a karma ball.
Izzy.
What?
You trying to ship us?
Yeah.
Who's
I don't know.
Swizzy? That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Horini?
Horini.
That doesn't really work very well.
How about Swarus?
Swarus
is pretty good.
Good.
Swarus, Swizzy. Actually, Sweeney at the beginning of all of the names are pretty good.
Yeah.
Swarus. Yeah, those are
Who's
good.
who's Izzy and Horace?
Izzy.
Izzy.
That one's pretty good.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the slods that you tried to kill us with.
Sorry about that.
No. Well, yes, but because Izzy was infected.
I'm not apologizing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Izzy,
she was.
First of all,
I was scared for. I'm not gonna lie.
you Kelly knew, because Izzy rolled very, very badly on her
Yes,
knowledge
she
check,
Mm-hmm.
but you, Kelly, I'm assuming were aware of what was happening, and you were just not metagaming it at all.
No, I was really nervous.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, a very good job.
No,
'cause
kudos.
So many people would have been like, oh, like, I rolled poorly, but I have like a strange, weird feeling for some reason that I need to get this thing out of me.
You rolled a natural one, or one of you two
Yeah.
did, and it's like, no, you can't know this. You don't get to have this information. And I was just sitting there like, you're going to, Izzy's going
Izzy's
to
gonna
die.
Yeah.
Izzy's going to go like John Hurt. Oh,
And
no.
to let listeners know, it was very much on the table that could have happened.
Yeah.
Because if you've listened to any of our previous adventures, I certainly don't shy away from almost attempting to kill you guys. I think in season 1, I tried to drop you into a different dimension with a demon power. So, like, it's very much on the table that these characters could die.
Ironically, immediately after that happens, we have a second death saving throw Sweeney before he almost dies.
Yeah.
We
Oh, yeah.
almost lost the main character season 1.
Yeah, we're not afraid of killing you guys, but I mean, we hope that you don't die.
We're
but-
afraid of you killing us,
Yeah,
guys.
sorry
That's
about
why
that.
the game works.
Yeah, no, Sweeney, you came really close as well.
Yeah.
In the Minotaur.
I rolled.
portions. I was
no,
like,
not the Minotaur.
Or what was
'cause,
it?
It was during the slot fight. I failed
yeah.
2 death saving
That's
throws.
right, you did.
Jeremy, or Horace, really, succeeded on 2 during the Minotaur, and it's like, all right, cool, he's fine. So I got cocky, and I thought, it's all right.
I got this,
I
guys.
actually said, and I think it's in the recording, I think I said, like, no, don't worry about healing me, Horace. Go and deal with the thing. And then I rolled 2 death saving throw failures, and I was like, please come heal me, because I don't know what I was thinking.
Spoilers, 5th edition is not forgiving.
No, it's a challenging game. It can be challenging. Thank God that I accidentally cheated during the Minotaur fight and left slow on for way
Oh, yeah.
too long.
So if anybody listening was like, it's not on for that long, we know.
Yeah, no,
we're sorry.
I know how concentration works. I forgot slow was a concentration spell. I'm sorry. We're bad at this game.
But yeah, I mean, the story behind the slot is like, it's honestly going through the monster manual and like previous ones.
I mean, how do you not?
I've been a fan of those things for so long, and I've wanted to find Andy. Like, so many seasons, I'm like, are they good enough yet? Are they strong enough yet? Slod? No, not yet. And now it's like, finally. And I didn't even put the worst ones in there.
Us writing the campaign definitely
Good.
may or may not have started with a comment from Jay. Can we put Slod in this campaign?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, they're at the right level. They can at least fight 2 of the many
I know.
slots.
I know. As I wanted like just hordes of zombies at first.
It was
to
wi-
just storm the gates.
But that
Turn
was
into
like-
Minotaur skeletons.
that was
which
like a-
were very tough.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a weird evolution. It started with like ghosts that don't attack you guys.
Well,
And then became skeletons that do, then became zombies that do, then became minotaurs.
Minotaur skeletons again, yeah.
And I think, again, a lot of that was us trying to take a concept and just being like, what's a different way we can flip this a little bit? Like, instead of just being like, you know, like classic Poltergeist, like, this was built on top of a burial ground.
Which it was.
Yeah.
But this was more or less, it wasn't like these guys are just trying to kill you because they don't like you. It's they're actually good.
Yeah.
They're trying to protect this flower. And you guys didn't really get that until you got down there into the graves and really studied them and got more into like what is up with these. Because, you know, you don't normally see skeleton minotaurs in most towns, even in D&D.
They're just undying sentinels guarding over a flower. It makes total sense.
Totally normal D&D fare.
And then we had the really interesting sort of murder mystery, not a murder mystery, but I guess the parlor room whodunit sort
A little
of
bit like that. I
situation.
mean, we'd be lying if we said that was definitely not part of the DNA of
Yeah,
it.
there was an Agatha Christie element to it with the
Great.
different NPCs.
Some good clue going on right there.
Yeah.
We were trying to set up with everybody in the beginning that there could have been something.
Another reason why I wanted everyone to be like forced to be in a place was they have to also then be with these NPCs who then have to become a bigger part of the story because they're all trapped together. They can't just leave them or just be like, I don't like this person, and just leave them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we'll just go on to the next part of the cave and leave this random kobold by himself or something. Like, nope, they're all there, which is, by the way, so fun for a DM to just have to maintain 8 different voices in the same room talking to yourself. Wait, what does this guy sound like again? Okay, here we go.
Yeah, we definitely had to work up to that.
Yeah,
We definitely could not have done that season 1 because that's a lot of NPCs.
it's a lot of voices.
But I think it
A lot
came
of
out,
southern accents.
I think it came out pretty well.
I hope so.
I think actually that's we've talked in the past about mystery because we've had a few mystery themed adventures at this point, and one of the tricks is to not spoon feed of like, okay, this person has motive, but this person has means. Be like, okay, everyone's a suspect.
Yeah.
Everyone's got motives, means, and opportunity. You just have to figure out who's who and what. And
I definitely wanted, I was like, the boatman is the bad guy, and how do we disarm everybody immediately to thinking the boatman could be the bad guy?
Yeah.
Make him the guy who cries wolf. Everybody automatically is like, well, he just told us a helpful fact. He can't be the bad guy.
and he's also not there when the flower goes missing, so
Yep.
we don't associate him as being villainous. And then when he comes back later, we're still not looking at him as a suspect because we found the dudes who took the flower.
And you had enough, you know, shady people with like the guys who were throwing knives during the Minotaur attack, and like the old woman, and like even the Minotaur who was there. Like the other thing too is when we created that character, a lot of times like the villain or the secret villain is always like the quiet one. But one way to sometimes disarm people is make the villain almost like an aggressive character, not like mean, but we wanted the character to be like kind of taking control, like, all right, like kind of like the wise, like he'd been there before, like,
In
all
your
right, we're all
face.
going to settle down, we're all going to take it easy, we're going to wait till help comes. You know, most cases it's like the guy in the corner is like, what, me? I'm just a regular guy.
If you make him-
tentacles come out of his face.
You make him like Quinn. You make him like Quinn from Jaws. You make him loud, you make him belligerent, but you also make him knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, well, he's the wiser old man type character.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go to him for help, and then your fate's already sealed at that point.
And kudos to Andrew for coming up with the idea for the boatman to be the killer, because it also came from you were saying like, well, we reference a show we all really like is Sherlock, and
Yes.
there's the very first episode of Sherlock is about the cabbie being a villain. Oops, spoilers for that first episode.
You guys had your chance. You
Too
gotta watch
late.
that show.
It's
That
been
show's
4
been out for
years.
a while.
Or more than
But yeah,
that.
And he has a great line where it's like nobody suspects the cabbie.
that is essentially the originating factor of where that idea came from. Is like no one expects the driver.
Yeah.
Essentially, the driver is never noticed.
And it gave us a fun opportunity for me to grab Seychelle and throw her out a window, which was I thought was fun.
A lot of fun characters, a lot of fun NPCs. The immediately hateable elves.
Yes.
Mr. Elves.
That was
okay.
intended.
Okay, I'm gonna come out and say right off the bat, I never see elves anything but like a noble and people that somebody looks up to.
They're always Elrond.
And I was like, we have to make these elves assholes.
They were.
We have to make them the most unbelievably uncomfortable people to be around.
Yeah.
And then
Succeeded.
fortunately, Seychelle ended up playing an elf, which was happening sort of simultaneously. I was talking to her about her character over the week, and then we landed on an elf, and I don't think you knew that when you came up with them, but it gave her a really great opportunity to roleplay with them, which
I didn't
we
know
were
till
psyched
after.
about.
I didn't know till after the fact that
Yeah.
she was also an elf, and I was like, well, that's interesting. That's gonna go a lot of different ways.
And it was really interesting to put those three together with her psychic powers.
That's true.
Warlocks are so great and broken.
Yeah. Which also, strangely, that interrogation tactic made those scenes work even more so.
Yeah.
That you actually had a power that could work for interrogating and figuring out who is killed and why.
Yeah.
'Cause otherwise that would have been real difficult. And even Izzy too.
Oh, I tried.
Kelly, your power to locate where the flower was, the source of where it was, that also helped too.
I loved that I got to use talk to plant.
Oh my
I know.
god.
Oh my god.
It was so druidy.
I can't
loved
believe.
it.
First of all, I guess I can believe it because you knew you were coming to this flower, but you actually.
Yeah.
First of all, guys, there was a spell called Speak with Plants.
It's true.
You had it prepared,
I did.
and then you spoke with the plants.
I did. I was so happy.
I don't think it's in the final episodes in season 4, but there's definitely bonus material of us talking about Speak with Plants and being like, why would you need this power?
Exactly.
Hey, plants have a lot to say.
Yeah.
Apparently not a ton.
I really loved though how Jay's voice for the plant.
Oh, the really high
Because
pitched voice.
this is a very special
By the way,
flower.
You think it would be like Morgan Freeman or like
Oh, no.
Glenn Close
No,
or
but just even it's hi.
We
I don't
tried
know.
we tried to get Glenn Close, but she said no.
she said no.
It's I think the same voice he used for the Displacer Beasts.
Well, the weird thing is like if her father went and visited the sacred spot was enlightened and spoke with the plant must therefore have some knowledge. But when she gets down and like, hey, how are you? All we get back is, oh, hi.
I loved that.
Hi.
I
It
loved
was
that
so-
about Izzy's
What are
arc.
you doing?
I loved that it was this really underwhelming like moment. Like you come and you're like, you are my insight, and it's like, no, I'm a flower.
I'm a flower,
I
guys.
have no useful information. I cannot help
And
you.
she's a druid, so like inside, she just died. She's like, oh wait, my whole life is a lie. Wait, well, no, it's propelling her now towards
to creating her own creating her own path, because this whole
Exactly.
time the whole point is she's been following her father's
Yeah.
path essentially, and this is a really nice, it was a crushing but also sobering moment to be like, this isn't the answer, it's just a flower, like I have to still figure this
Just
stuff
a
out.
goddamn flower.
Yeah,
Just a flower, guys.
onward to
A
rocks.
very pretty flower.
Yeah, lovely.
Very blooms in
Very
moonlight.
friendly.
Yeah.
So, hi.
Full of
I
deep
believe
truths.
it let you rip a piece of it off of itself.
Oh yeah.
Persuasion.
Not a lot of animals let you do that.
It doesn't have pain receptors. It doesn't know the difference.
Hey, this is a magic Underdark flower. It
gave
has a
it-
lot of
Yeah.
pain receptors.
Yeah, we gave it its own little rain cloud and its own little pieces of sunshine, and we babied it a bit. So of course it was like,
Which was adorable.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun. I like, and then we got to do some like real role playing between Izzy and Sweeney at the
Yeah.
end, which was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
we did.
As far as the NPCs, back on those guys. By the way, we're throwing around that term. It means non-player characters. For those who don't know D&D, do you guys have any advice for DMs out there about creating memorable, maybe super hateable NPCs?
Super hateable NPCs. Okay.
Let's start there and we'll work backwards to just memorable.
Give them a really annoying voice. Step one.
Annoying voice definitely helps. Definitely make. There's one thing that almost every player will hate is know-it-alls.
Yeah.
Make them seem very arrogant and condescending, and that's just like a great stepping point. Like as soon as you establish that they think they know more than anybody else in the room, they're like, "Who is this asshole?" Essentially,
Yeah.
just like he doesn't know more than me. I just rolled a 20. Screw you type of thing. But if they're just that constant like we're better than you essentially feeling. Because most NPCs that you see in games, they just want to be helpful.
Yeah.
Or they're driven to be the
It comes from that video game mentality where it's like, I have a useful quest for you. Come back when you have something relevant for me to tell you, And then in like...
I'm walking down the street, but I have these knowings that they're just so
Hey,
important.
bartender, anything weird going on? Yes, in fact, over there on the hill atop of the mountain, there is a cabin.
Here are 4 relevant pieces of information that happen to factor into what you're about to do. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Like, and it's D&D. We don't have to be limited to that. And also, because of the nature of adventurers, we have this sort of built-in idea of like, yeah, I'm the best at what I do. Even though like we're level 6, like we have a lot
There
to
are better
learn
people
still.
out there, yeah.
The whole premise of the adventure was that Izzy has a lot to learn and a lot of growing to do. We all do. But we have this built-in human nature of like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And if someone is schooling you and basically also they really liked the flower, we didn't really like the flower, but they like the flower, and yet the people who tried to punch the elves were the two people who liked the flower. Izzy and
They're so annoying. I
Zereni.
couldn't help it.
Yeah.
I'm only half elf. I'm so.
I also loved what a bad plan that was.
Oh, I love that we both agreed to do it together because we were like on the same wavelength of like these jerks.
Had you both hit, which neither of you did,
We did it. But
you could have done 2 damage together.
To be fair, they actually intentionally, per their characters, were very difficult to hit. But
Yeah.
you guys didn't know at that time because
No.
you just thought they were annoying botanist know-it-alls.
We didn't know they were ninjas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then like
we just high five. Woohoo!
just getting back to it, yeah. I mean, like, that's the first step is to make them very antagonistic towards the characters. The second thing is to make them non-helpful in any respect. If they're not helpful towards the players will immediately be like, well, screw these people.
Well, I guess we gotta kill them.
Or kill them.
Immediate jump to
Or
death.
interrogate them
Gotta
terribly.
get them out.
They're not driving the story forward, then I guess they gotta die.
Guess they gotta go.
So
I think probably like a really easy cheat for a DM is just look at any of your NPCs that you like probably need in an area, like, and just ask like, why are they in this place? For example, if there's like a baker and you have to go into a bakery shop because like the cake that you found that killed somebody was evil, fine, and you take it to the best baker in town, like
that really went there.
yeah, sure,
I
of
wanna
course,
read that
it's
story.
D&D. A cake killed somebody.
this
probably
is very much
like
in
that.
Jay's mode.
It's in the
of
next adventure.
Take something mundane and it kills you.
Yeah, basically.
Flower poisoned with slod.
Poison with slot, obviously.
Sand, it's gonna murder you.
No, Mike, it's a flower that protects slod dimension from breaking through into this reality. Makes
Yeah, but
sense.
it stung her with a slod.
That's true. But yeah, like
Truth.
the baker, like, why is that baker there? And like make that part of their character very easily. Like they want to become the best baker in town. That's a good motivation. That'll probably motivate what they talk about. Like they might like analyze the cake closer, be like, this is made from strawberry, like perfexis or what? I don't know what that is, but you might. And
The phlebotinum.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely the 2 elf characters would not have been as successful if they were not botanists. Like, 'cause that gives them a direct correlation to why they want to
or
be there.
if they weren't also secretly like thieves, because
Yeah.
then you have this information about why they're there, and you don't have to share that information. Like Andrew was saying, they don't have to be helpful. Don't make them helpful unless they are encouraged to be by making checks. Or
You
something.
also just inadvertently labeled the second way to make players hate NPCs is to make them thieves. It's totally okay when players are stealing shit left and right, but as soon as the NPCs start taking stuff, they gotta die.
Stepping away from the hateable NPCs.
Right.
I think what Jay's bringing up is also really good advice, and what I try to think about is basically what your NPCs want.
Yeah, what do they want? Why are they there? Even if they're just a guard, is this a temporary job? Are they a mercenary? Do they love their job? Do they hate their job?
What do they do in their downtime?
Very quick decisions, and you've already given them like 3 things they can talk about. In their downtime, do they play jacks? Do they draw pictures?
I mean, it comes down to just normal writing of creating a character. You have to give your NPC motivation, like backstory, like you have to understand why they're there, and then you can play them and give them a good voice, which Jay's good at, which also helps give them a lot of life.
I also paid him to say that.
That's how you make them memorable. They have to be an actual person.
Yeah, distinctive voices is very helpful. And
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
that was the end of that sentence.
Okay.
Distinct voices.
Distinct voices are very helpful.
I get surprised by punctuation at the end of sentences.
The end.
Period.
But yeah, I mean, you can't just plug in an NPC. Like, you have to, as much as it's easy to just think, oh, there's just a barkeep. It's like, no, you got to really dive into each of the characters, at least that you want your character, that your players to interact with.
Right.
Or you're going to get essentially talk yourself into a circle or into a hole that you can't get out of because you haven't thought of what this person is about.
Yeah, to take it back to season 4, like we walked into a bar. Jay was not expecting us to be in a bar. The NPC was just a bartender, but that's totally fine. But when you're talking about Lady Silverkin or in this adventure, all the people we were stuck in that place with, like we have to know some things about them in advance before.
You're probably going to have more conversations than just like, why are you here? I'm here to see a plant accent. And like, that's it. Like, it's like, okay, cool.
I loved the slow reveal of the elder, what was she?
Tiefling.
The tiefling woman.
Yes, that was so good.
Oh, thanks.
That I'm so glad we
Well, you
got to
helped with
spend
that slow reveal.
time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just so glad I'm like, oh, look what I did. Unintentionally. I didn't know that was going to happen. But I'm just so glad that was like a gem that we uncovered. in it because it just added such a rounded depth to the people because we know why the Velvet League was there. Izzy dragged them there. We know that the botanists are there.
We know why
but like,
Zereni's
there's
there.
something else to it. It's just not to come. See, there was a little bit more moving, not evil, sinister, not out there for like a dualistic like manner. She was really just out there to pay like homage. It was such a refreshing thing, and I really liked that.
What I like about that is that it's sort of parallel to you because she's going there because someone else wanted her to.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that was deliberate or not, but I love it because it's basically a little hint at what you're going through.
You're totally right.
Man, it sounds like we do this stuff on purpose.
We do good work here at Friday Night Quests.
But yeah, I mean, especially if you guys are going to ever attempt like a bottle episode or something with your groups, especially a bottle episode, I highly recommend making sure that every one of your characters there has a fun motivation. And if it's like a Agatha Christie mystery or something like that in a bottle episode, the best part is peeling back those layers of the characters. So give them layers. Like Andrew said, give them reasons to not give you those layers and that information. And that if you earn it, then it's going to make your characters feel a lot more connected to not only the story they get out of it, but also how they got it.
Oh, the satisfaction is just so much higher when you have that self-discovery with a well-structured character. With regards to the bottle, though, the only thing I'll say is it's real easy to put too many people into that situation. Just be careful on your numbers.
Yeah.
Because when you have to interact with everybody because they are in a bottle, like, make sure that you have the amount of characters you actually want to be in that situation.
And there's only so many Southern accents you can do and make it still make sense.
And I mean, honestly, for the DMs out there, if you're not good with accents, you don't have to do accents. But distinct personalities is so important.
Unfortunately, that's my cheat code to different characters, is just doing different weird accents.
Fortunately, you can do accents. Or, well, we think you can, but
you get to be the judge of that, listeners.
Yeah. Are you from whatever region this was close to accent-wise?
Tell me how bad I got it.
FridayNightQuests@gmail.com.
Yeah.
But just distinct personalities. You know, the fact that the botanists were so interested in correcting us, and we call them botanists, the elf ninjas, the elf thieves.
It's the more correct job description. That's right.
They were so interested in correcting us and being like up in our business, disarming us essentially, making us think they were nobody. Whereas the elderly tiefling woman was much less interested, and as a result, seemed a little more suspicious. Like, they had very different reactions to these same stimuli, which was the Velvet League and everything that entails. And because they had very different personalities, we reacted to them very, very differently.
I love the Velvet League. They're just a mess.
It's just the best dinner party guests.
Like, exactly. Like, they have like doop good intentions. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, we'll find out what kind of dinner guests they are in season 6.
Ooh.
How about that for a segue, guys?
Spoilers. Good segue.
Thanks, guys.
This is good.
We'll see you then.
Bye.
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 Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode. And thanks again to Seychelle Gabriel for joining us. She was amazing to game with. But next week, we're off to Bahamutmas, and we'll be joined by Todd G. Levin, my co-host on Blockbuster Smash Up. We've got a delightful holiday adventure in store for you, so we hope you'll join us for that. Once again, you can follow Seychelle on Twitter @SeychelleGab. Photos and character art can be found at partialarc.com, where you can listen to or download full episodes. You can also find other similar podcasts, like Because Comics, Blockbuster Smash Up, and Roll to Seize. Remember, you can always email us any questions or comments at FridayNightQuests@gmail.com, and hear more from us every day on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr, all on the handle PartialArc. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the battlefield.
Yeah, I'm gonna loot the body.
So, how much experience do we get?
Well, now we have a skeleton army, so that's pretty neat.